the delay. We were trying to figure out some technical difficulties. But today I have with me Sriya Donepudi and Amogh Mamadapur for our fifth episode in the Mission ICU Rural Healthcare series, where we speak to different leaders working in the sphere of rural healthcare to understand the different challenges that India faces in the development of healthcare. And today we are starting a new format where we spend the first 10 minutes of the episode chatting with a social entrepreneur, a young social entrepreneur, a young upcoming social entrepreneur. And today we have with us Shriya for that purpose. So for the first 10 minutes, I'm going to be chatting with Shriya and asking her all about her social enterprise. And the second half of the show will be largely focused on Amogh and his organization, SELCO, who is doing some incredible work in the sphere of clean energy and rural healthcare. And that's going to be the theme of today's conversation. So, without any further ado, I will ask Shriya to please introduce herself and her organization. Over to you, Shriya.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lubaina. Hello, everyone. I am Sriya Donepudi, a senior in high school, a 17-year-old cinephile, and an aspiring bailiwick. Rather, I think an aspiring sustainable bailiwick. But why bailiwick? To me, bailiwick refers to an individual area of expertise. For me, my aspirational avenue or area of expertise is sustainability. For me, sustainability is a vast space. Rather, it's a never growing space in an ever growing world. However, I knew from a young age, learning from my environment throughout my childhood, that our planet is ours to protect and nurture. And I wanted to contribute to it. This kick-started my social impact journey once I got a little older. This is most notable in my work with Ankh. I started my project Ankh in grade 10 as a school project with an aim of reusing flowers from local socio-cultural events to create organic aromatic products. This metamorphosed into a dream of life, more specifically, a second life to flowers. However, I learned sustainability is not just environmental, it lies amongst the people of our communities as well. Hence, I decided to encourage women from underprivileged backgrounds to receive opportunities of empowerment through this floral upcycling project, especially to become independent, autonomous contributors to their own sustainable living. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing about yourself and about Ankh. So, how many women have you been able to support so far through your social enterprise, and how long has it been in existence for? So, you said since 10th grade. So, can you put a timeline to that, please?
Yes, basically, Ankh started as a school project in my early 10th grade. I started it into late 2018, early 2019. The lines kind of blurred over there. So it's still running, it's still ongoing, but throughout COVID, the sort of progress and functionality of this project was a little bit on hiatus. It was a bit difficult to undergo the physical procedures that we needed to do to collect the flowers and actually actively work on building the products. That was a bit of a difficulty. So the timeline, again, it's sort of on hiatus with the entire COVID-19 pandemic that we are under right now. But as it's improving, I'm looking forward to getting back into timeline and working towards progressing with the project. However, with the number of women, I would honestly say the numbers are quite blurred again because we did offer the ladies who worked with us full time and part time opportunities during our functioning. So to specifically circle on a number would be quite difficult. But I might have to add, interestingly, the women who did join us were part of one singular community that we did sort of set up base in, and the groups we did work with sort of formed their own little community, and I was able to have the opportunity to join them as a part of their family, and we created our own little solidaire world where we could work together as a small group. Yeah.
That's great, Shriya, that not only are you upcycling floral waste to make it something useful, but you're also providing livelihoods to these women. You're providing them part-time employment, full-time employment. So it's flexible based on their existing, responsibilities and commitments, whether at home or at another, job that they are probably pursuing. So what is the most satisfying part for you about being a social entrepreneur, especially a young one at that?
I believe a social entrepreneur is a sort of very ambiguous term because, again, there's a lot of things that we'd like to contribute to improve our society. There isn't a isn't a singular or nuclear path that we can take to sort of, betterment our communities or betterment our society. So I would say that the lines again over here are very blurry. We have to consider different aspects, different perspectives when we do try to build a better community, a better society, or try to contribute to making it more ameliorated. I would say the best or most satisfying thing in my specific journey would be the sort of interactions and empathetic connections that I could make with the people I worked with. I would say my communication and social skills have been off the roof ever since I started my journey, and all the interactions I've had, all the experience I've been able to undertake, and sort of integrating and amalgamating my passion for floral upcycling with the empowerment of the women in my community. I believe that was so significant in me developing my empathetic connection and sort of rapports with my own community. So I would say a sort of self development while also contributing to a sustainable world is something that's most satisfying for a social entrepreneur, whatever scale it might be.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing, Shreya. I think I have a couple more questions for you. So, how did you come up with the idea of upcycling floral waste? Can you tell us that story?
Of course. So upcycling floral waste was something, again, it stemmed from what I've seen in my lot of sociocultural events, parents, my family, even my friends. And we as Indians tend to use a lot of us. And when you think about it, a lot of people across the world use flowers in their decorations, in their events, whatever it might be. It's a sort of significance of beauty, of dainty prettiness, and it sort of signifies a sort of celebration, sort of culture rather in every celebration. So I was observing that they used quite significantly, yet they're sort of cycled in very I would say rapidly. Every event or every function I would attend, they'd have a bunch of flowers that they would use for their decorations, and the next event they just discard these flowers without second thought, and these flowers would just end up in landfills or garbage cans, while new flowers are brought in and set up as decorations, and the same happens. It's like an ongoing cycle. And that observation was honestly a little disheartening to see. Other living creatures, even flowers are living creatures, other things that I genuinely do admire and do sort of have a passion for, being sort of treated in such an apathic way or apathic manner. So that sort of kick-started this idea for me that I wanted to do something. I wanted to actually create a change and make sure that these flowers actually are used to their full potential, and rather they're just not discarded for after a singular use, because I know that these flowers can be used for a second purpose. And aromatic objects are honestly a significant part in our domestic life. So having something organic, healthy, with a sustainable purpose, I believe that was the most significant part of kickstarting this idea, and thus started Ankh.
Thank you for sharing that story. I think every one of us sees problems around us, right? But it's about thinking in solution mode. What can I do at my age, even? So, speaking of that, can you tell us if you have any advice for young social entrepreneurs like you out there? I know that you were recently recognized with the Diana Award. So, how does that feel like? And what advice do you have for others out there?
Of course. So for other young social entrepreneurs, I would say that the most significant sort of trajectory that they can go through or sort of reach is their own individual interests or their own individual passions. They have to sort of take up what they're passionate about. They have to be emotionally connected to it. It shouldn't be like any other aim that they're just taking up for the sake of starting an initiative. It should be personal to them. They should feel emotionally connected to it. And I think that sort of creates an atmosphere of conducive and productive efficiency when you're taking the project forward. You feel empathetic towards your project. And that was most significant for me. And I would say, with respect to advice, just don't think too much about it. Just sort of stay grounded with your project, stay emotionally connected with your project, sort of form that sort of relationship with it, and just take it forward. I think I always try articulating this, but it sounds very amateur. But I just like to say, if you observe the stars or see the stars and you want to reach them, I think you should just shoot for it. And I think that sort of helped me with my own, reaching my own goals with my project. I saw the stars, I saw what I wanted to do, and I just shot for it. I didn't really think much about it. I just tried to stay connected with my project throughout, and that's what contributed the most for me and working towards my project.
Super, Shriya. Thank you so much for being here with us and for sharing your thoughts and sharing about Ankh. I think I'm excited to see what you do going forward. And I know it's a difficult time for you right now studying for the pre boards. So thank you for making time.
Thank you so much. It was so nice speaking with you.
All right. Thanks, Shriya. Bye bye.
See you.
Okay, so we are going to shift gears a little bit and connect with our second guest for the day, who is Amogh Mamadapur, who will be representing SELCO here today. So he is the chief manager at SELCO, and he'll be sharing a little bit about SELCO's initiatives, goals, and impact in the clean energy and healthcare sector as well. So Amogh, thank you for being here, and could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, thanks, Lubana, and thanks to Mission ICU for having me here. So about myself, only two lines. Been a decade in this space, and I've joined Selco 6 years back, and I've been in the partnership and mostly Bihar operations of Selco. More about Selco. So Selco was started by Dr. Harish Hande back in 1995, when people actually did not know what a social enterprise is or what social entrepreneur really means. It was the day when just 1991 the Indian economy had opened up, and we were all going towards more about profit making and increasing the shareholders values and all of those things. It is exactly that time when Harish was doing his PhD back in US, and he thought that solar energy can be a future, and future not only for the urban areas but for the rural areas. It can make sense for the rural areas as well. And with too much of thought to it, and a very conscious decision that he did not open a not-profit organization. He actually opened a private limited company, because we have always believed that these solutions are required for the underserved and the poor communities who are actually poor because not having a basic infrastructure and not financially. So this is a difference that we have always thought. We've always thought that technology is something which the rural poor may not understand, and that is the myth that Selco has broken over the last 27 years. So Selco, after 1995, now it is we do call ourselves still a startup, because we always, when we go into a new space, it's again the same problems that we faced in 1995, even today in some of the districts of Jharkhand, Bihar, and Chhattisgarh, and so on and so forth, who still, even though the government claims, and of course there is improvement in the rural infrastructure when it comes to lighting, but still the 24 hours of lighting is still a distant dream for them. So now today, Selco has, apart from lighting, has diversified largely into livelihood, healthcare, education, financial inclusion, water, and all of those. Today, we are a strong 500 employee organization with our 60 odd branches across Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Bihar, Kerala, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, with number of organizations under our umbrella nationally as well as internationally. So that is a little bit about Selco. Yeah.
Thank you, Amogh, for sharing about Selco. Very interesting to know the history of the organization, and also the reason behind why it's a social enterprise instead of a not-for-profit organization. And could you also tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your profile? What drew you to this kind of work?
So, as the previous speaker, I think Shriya was very clear when she said that it's a very ambiguous word as to what social entrepreneur really means. For me personally, I've always believed that business can be done in rural areas, especially in a country like India, where people are even ready to pay that extra buck for the infrastructure that they have not seen. I have seen lights, I have seen e-rickshaws now, which are costlier in some parts of the rural parts of India than that they are those in Bangalore or maybe in Bombay in the urban areas. So what I've always feel is that business can be done ethically. Business can be done in these areas, and so that I've always believed. So while I completed my engineering and I was doing my post graduation in management, I opted for social entrepreneurship as a subject in my fourth semester, and that is when I had actually a bunch of my friends were dentist doctors who were already working on an idea as to they were in this area called Bhiwandi. If Mumbaikars will know that Bhiwandi is an area which is very distant. It was once upon a time the largest warehouse in India. Even today, Flipkarts, the Amazons, and all of these Reliance people, they have the big warehouses in Bhiwandi. However, the people largely remain poor. They are mostly daily wage workers who are going on daily wage workers, and they really don't know what is the difference between a dentist and a physician. So whenever there's a toothache, they will directly go to a physician. And the physician, because he wants to have more and more customers, he will just give a painkiller, and the pain will subside for 10 days, and then again the customer will come back and again the painkiller will be given. They really don't know when they have a toothache, they have to go to a dentist. And that is when we came to an idea saying that these are the people who don't have dental services, and let us see if we can open up dental clinics around those areas. That was back in 2013. I was the only non-doctor there, so all the other three people were doctors, and we were very young. And although we did pitch to a lot of investors, the impact investors back then. Still 2013 was early days for India for social entrepreneurship back then. We did open up 10 clinics. In fact, we did get series one, seed funding, and we did hire some of the doctors. But largely what happened is that what we faced is that the doctors were not ready to come and join the clinics in the rural areas. So, in India, what happens is to get maybe, I don't know, for a private seat in MBBS, or maybe your people are paying around, say, 50 lakhs to a crore of rupees in donation, and for dentists, it is 25 to 30 lakhs. So, these are the students who would want to have return on their investment. And that return on investment is not possible, unfortunately, in the rural areas. So, this was an experiment that we did for 2-3 years. Even though I am very happy that it was a failure, because we got to learn a lot of things. Things that there has to be an ecosystem for a social enterprise to succeed. You may be very passionate. You may want to change the world at 22, 23. But if there is no proper ecosystem, then you are immature to think that you can change the world and still do business in those rural areas. So I quit from Smile Merchants Dental Clinic, that it was called, in 2016. Unfortunately, I got married in 2017, and that is how it was not a choice. I came to Bangalore, and I was still wanting to continue that journey. Even though I was a management graduate, I had a lot of other opportunities. Honestly speaking, I was not looking forth for SELCO. But then a common friend of my family suggested that with your background, maybe you could do justice to yourself in such an organization. And that is how I joined SELCO. And SELCO back then in 2016, of course, Harish, a chairman, founder, has been the star of the organization. And I was really impressed by his idea. By 2016, he had actually moved to SELCO Foundation, and the enterprise was run by a bunch of these guys who had joined in 1995. And these are all non-English speaking, coming from the ground kind of background, and they were actually running the show. So we management graduates think, we know the enterprise very well with our Excel sheets and magnificent PowerPoint presentations. We think that we can do business, but I actually learned a lot from this, from these people who did not have those degrees. And so it's been 6 years. It's a ground reality check every time that you go on the field in SELCO. Recently, just a week back, a complete week I was in Bihar, and I was in these districts of Bihar, in Muzaffarpur, in Jamui, in Begusarai, and even today infrastructure in PHCs. Because now that let us come to the healthcare. Believe me, Lubaina, you will not understand what India really is if you don't visit these centers. These are just infrastructure buildings that have been built 20-25 years. They don't have electricity, and they have all ceilings coming off. If you just hit with your own hand, maybe a girl, maybe the roof will come down, and there are no lights. This I'm talking about a very mature center, and a lot of work has to be done. And it's us, the people, that have to be blamed. It's not the government, it's not the infrastructure, it's not the system. It's us people who have to be blamed, because that was always a part of our country, and we have ignored that part of our country. So yeah, that's about me and about SELCO. So SELCO looks at these centers, and because we come from the sustainability and energy point of view, what we are trying to say is that at least let me give lights. At least let me give some medical appliances, so that basic medical procedures like OPDs and maybe pregnancy deliveries happen in these PHCs. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing so passionately about your personal journey, as well as SELCO and its role. And what you said about the state of PHCs in rural India, it absolutely rings true, because these are the districts that Mission ICU also aims to bolster critical care in. And these are real problems. It's not just about giving them equipment and then okay, you're done, but how are they going to run this equipment when there is such a basic level problem of power, right? So I know that SELCO is, running interventions in these zones where even power is such a big issue. So can you tell us a little bit about some key projects that maybe you are working on, or that are in the field of healthcare that you're passionate about, that are currently being run by SELCO?
Yeah, I'll talk about the current program that is run by SELCO Foundation, even though I'm not part of it, because SELCO Foundation, in partnership with, I think it is NHSRC, that is, I think it is part of the Health Department, Health Ministry of India. We have taken up 10 districts. We have taken up 10 districts in India, where we are saying that we are going to completely blanket all the health centers, starting from the sub-centers to the smaller ones, to the PHCs and to the district hospital, and saying that we are going to solar power all of these centers, and making sure that there is basic electricity in the operational hours. So say between 10 to 6, 8 to 10 hours, when there is a lot of work that is happening, a lot of people coming in, going out, and there's a requirement of a solar backup. And also to do away with the diesel generators, because when there is no electricity, unfortunately, these PHCs will have to be dependent on diesel generators for their power, for the energy purposes. So what we are going to say, what we are saying is that we are going to completely blanket these districts and make sure that all of these centers, small or big, are going to have solar as a backup for all the energy needs. So last year, I think, because I'm a part of this project in Raichur, in the district of Raichur, we have done about 250 odd centers, and we have given them solar systems ranging from 2 kilowatt to, I think, around 6 kilowatt in the PHCs, and made sure that there is enough energy backup to these centers. Yeah.
That's a great project. So how many, so across 10 districts, let's say Raichur has 250 centers that you're blanketing. In total, how many centers do you think it will be across?
I think on an average, I think it is about 1,600 to 2,000 centers.
That is incredible.
And because I'm only part of Raichur project, I also know that some of the installations have happened in Meghalaya, Assam, and also in Jharkhand.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, this is extremely, I mean, just the scale of it and the impact. Can you comment a little bit on the impact? What do you think the impact is going to be, the numbers, or even qualitatively, how do you think this is going to change things?
Well, impact, from I'll not go from the end user perspective because that is a larger dialogue, and it will happen only over a period of time. But why did we do at this scale? I'll go a little. There's a precursor to it actually. So this healthcare project, the interventions in health started back in 2015-16. I think the initial centers we did in Madhya Pradesh. And in Madhya Pradesh, it was just a pilot as to see can we reduce the cost of the diesel that is being used by these centers for the backup. So the a direct impact that we could show to the government is that please do away with these diesel generators. We are in 2002, we have seen this generation has seen wars, this generation has seen pandemics, this generation is now going to witness climate change. We all know that. And so it is not only about urban people talking zealously about solar and renewable energy, but also the larger part of India also today remains largely in rural areas. So we can concentrate on rural schools and rural colleges, rural institutions, and of course rural healthcare. And at that scale, what we're going to say is that so much is the carbon reduction by not depending on diesel generators, by not depending on your fuel-based electricity, that is our conventional electricity. And so I don't want to comment on the numbers right now because I don't have that on my slide. But the dialogue has more been on the carbon reduction right now. Now, with respect to the end user perspective, to a PHC, primary healthcare center, as we know, about 10,000 to 15,000 people on average. A PHC covers an area of about 10 to 12 kilometers. For a sub-center, it covers around, I think, 5,000 to 6,000 people. So over a period of time, what I'm thinking is that if Raichur has around 250 centers, I am saying that at least 10 to 15 lakh of people will be directly benefited. I'll say that intangible kind of thing, because what we have seen is that suppose I just have a fever, I just have a cold, and I may not know whether in the sub PHC, smaller clinic that government has built, if there be a doctor or not. By giving that basic lighting and fan system in that clinic, I'm ensuring that the doctor will be there. And so the patient will not have to travel 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers only because he has a minor fever or he has some cold issues or a snake bite, because that is also mostly what we see emergency situation. So these are some of the intangible benefits that we are going to see. However, there will be a monitoring and evaluation of all of these PHCs. But right now we are in the first phase, and these are the direct numbers that I can definitely tell you of.
Definitely, definitely, there will be intangible benefits that cannot even be measured by the best M&E teams. So this is that kind of a project. How is there a timeline for this project, or you said you're in phase one? So
I think till 2025, I think is the timeline. By 2025, I think that's what we are looking at doing these
okay,
1800 centers. Yeah.
that's great. That's not too far in the future. So it's coming, and
Okay, and also the larger part of the conversation is that now that we have done 10 districts, there are 617, 647. I'm not sure, maybe 650 districts in India. Now, can the government take this up? Okay,
correct.
now I'm Prime Minister Modi has told 2070 and that carbon neutrality. The dialogue is there, very much. Everybody is talking about it. So this is one of the model that we are saying that decentralized renewable energy for rural healthcare system can definitely be one of the part of that carbon neutrality, climate change, as well as improving the healthcare infrastructure of rural India.
Absolutely. I mean, if this model is proven, and from what you're saying, it will be proven by 2025, then it's something that can be a model for the rest of the country, and the government can adopt. And that is the whole game with social enterprises, right? You take that initial risk to make sure that the government can come in when it's safe and scale it. Lovely. I know that you've been working in social entrepreneurship pretty much since the beginning of your career, and it's different than probably a path that many of your classmates might have taken after management graduation. So, why do you think? Can you comment a little bit about why social entrepreneurship is fulfilling to you, or why working in an
Uh,
organization like this is
I
important to
think
you?
I think I'm poised very well to talk about this. If you may have asked me this question before COVID, maybe I would say I'm not sure whether this is the right thing for me. But post COVID, I can definitely tell you that in the age of hyper active, hyper funded startups that we see, hyper funded startups, or I say technology startups that we see nowadays. Sustainable business is in. You can no more say that I'm going to be market based, and I'm going to acquire the market and be loss making for an n number of years, and I'm going to say I'm going to take my money back and go off. That dialogue is gone. I think the new graduates, the new people, the generation understands the sustainable business, and you need to do the profit the right way. Uh, uh, However, though, because it was back when I was 22, 23, we all wanted to make quick buck. Who doesn't want quick money? Everybody wants quick money, and mostly, with this conservative families that we come from, middle class families, they want your child to do engineering first, and then, of course, to do an MBA and to have a plush job and be settled as soon as possible. But that dialogue is gone. That dialogue, I can tell you for sure, the dialogue is gone, because we see a lot of these interns coming in, and they are very passionate about doing good to themselves than doing good to the society, because they know that out in there, things can change quickly, extremely quickly. Because during COVID, I remember there were a lot of these jobs, people being laid off, people being not happy with their jobs. There was a huge news article, a video that I read, I've seen on news channels, where they're saying that people are not happy with what they are doing, even with 6-digit, 7-digit salaries. On this note, to tell about Selco, we did not lay off a single person. Believe me, not a single person. Selco has been doing profitable business for last 12 years. They've been profitable last 12 years. This is a joke that our chairman keeps saying, that Lehman Brothers and Selco started in the same year. Lehman Brothers is gone, gone long back. Selco still remains. So saying that sustainable business is in, you need to know that वो race हुआ करता था, hare and the tortoise wala race. That story is still very much relevant even today. So you need to have sustainable business, you need to have the sustainable model, and you need to be happy every day coming into the office. Every day when you open your laptop, or every day when you talk to your peers, it is very necessary that you be passionate about what you're going to do in the next 8 to 10 hours. So for me at Selco, every day is a work day, be it Saturday, Sunday, be it whatever that it is, because because I'm very passionate, because I know what I'm doing. In this, what happens is, so Selco, what we have decided is, we are not going to expand largely. So we are not going to say, now that we are a 100 crore business, we are going to be 5,000 crores. So in next 10 years, or 10,000 crores. No, that's not the idea at all. The idea is to go to other places and build entrepreneurs there, and give them that knowledge sharing. We are not here for profitability sharing or money sharing. We are here for knowledge sharing, because we understand that more than me, a Bihari knows Bihar well. More than me, a person from Jharkhand, from Manipur, knows that area very well. I, looking at the laptop and the Wikipedia and all the knowledge and all those things, will not be helpful for the rural background, for the rural areas of these states. So we need to empower the entrepreneurs there, the innovators there. And believe me, there are innovators. ये जुगाड़ी जो होते हैं, ये जुगाड़ी आज भी है, और वो वही वही वो एरिया का अच्छा कर पाएंगे. So having said that, so that passion has to be there every day when you walk into your workstation. For me, honestly, for last 6 years, it has been a very good time at Selco. and I think everybody will find. But that's what. So for the young entrepreneurs. Do not go by the jargons. It doesn't work. Believe me, it may work for a year or two, maybe a half a decade, over a period of time if you want to. We always keep giving this names. Look at Tata, or look at Narendra Dayalai, or look at a lot of these social enterprises. These are all social enterprises and built with a lot of passion. To be honest, on another note on Selco, that I have to tell you is that Selco's shareholding agreements. I don't know whether the audience understand how the shareholding agreements work or the legal formalities work. Selco as a social enterprise is owned by three foundations. So three NGOs actually own the private limited company. So the NGO, because the sustainability and sustainable profit is in their ethos of those organizations. So even though tomorrow if Selco makes a lot of money, it will go again back into the system for improving, for doing more good work. So that has to change. This is something that I have to tell the new legal people, the new financial people, saying that look at things differently. Don't look at things differently. There's a lot of problems there, and if we don't solve it, those problems will come and bite you tomorrow. Yeah.
Absolutely, and like the prime example of that is climate change, right? If we don't solve it, it is coming today also. I mean, in Pune it is extremely hot. There's a heat wave, and it's only March.
I was in Pune on Monday. Believe me, I couldn't think that I was in Shaniwar Pet. I think it was 42 degrees at say 12 p.m. It was very
Correct.
hot. It was extremely hot there. Yeah.
Correct. So, I mean, climate change is the prime example of that. If we are not going to change it, who is? And I think what you said about my generation understanding that there needs to be a business sustainability aspect to this as well is very true, because first you help yourself and then you can help the world as well, right? So it is uh, a fine balance. So speaking of upcoming social entrepreneurs and impact professionals out there who are in our audience today as well, what do you think are some skills that they should develop in their early career, so like early 20s, as they're just dipping their feet into the professional world? What are some skills they should work on?
More than the hard skills, because I think nowadays mostly I see the younger generation being very good to communicate, because back we did not have, I think, just WhatsApp had just come in when I was in my 20s. But with WhatsApp and the new technology that's been coming in, people read a lot, people get information very quickly, so they know a lot, at least. So the general background is there. But on the softer level, I know what I think, maybe more empathy towards the people around you, maybe to look at the problems in a different manner, maybe be more innovative. And so innovation doesn't really have to be Apple. I mean, in the Apple phone, innovations can be very small. They can be the Shriya. I think she had done a very wonderful job. That kind of small innovations also can work. Can go a long way. That's what, looking at problems in a different manner. Nowadays it doesn't matter what's your education background. It doesn't matter what have you worked with. Employers, especially in the social enterprise or the social the development sector, are mostly looking at your intent, as why do you intend to come into this sector. It's wide open there, and with CSR money coming in, there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of job opportunities also for these people. But what I'm going to always say is that look at the long term perspective always. Look at the long term perspective. Have goals, like say 5-year goal, and maybe a 10-year goal, and maybe a 20-year goal, and then shape your career in that manner. Believe me, money is also going to come into the social development sector. When I joined, salaries were very meager in all of these sectors, but I'm seeing people getting paid well as well, competitively. However, you cannot compare those two people who are only wanting to make money. That's wrong. That's comparing apples and oranges. However, if you look, if you're going to look at a stable life, a very nurturing life, and at the end of the day, being happy to help yourself and somebody else around you, I think development sector is the place for you people, for all the young generation people to be in.
Thank you for sharing, and I'm glad that you brought up, the apples and oranges point, that there has to be some compromise, because I've been reading a lot of social media posts about how, the development sector is wide open right now, and there is so much scope, not just in terms of making a difference, but also in terms of making sure that you're able to, secure your financial stability. But I feel like there is a difference. It's like you said, apples and oranges. So I'm glad you brought it up and gave everyone a real picture of what to expect. And also, so you've been working in the energy space for over a decade now, I would say. Where do you see the future of clean energy, especially solar, in India?
So for Selco, energy is mostly based on a decentralized or distributed renewable energy. What we see mostly the policies of government that we see, because solar renewable energy sector is mostly nowadays, of course, private players are there, but mostly government driven, because a lot of things depend on the policies that government see. But rooftops are in. I'm seeing a lot of when I go into the market, when I talk to a lot of customers, a lot of people want to switch to renewable energy. So that shift is definitely there. The shift has been more after post COVID. So everybody wants to save the money. Also, at the same time, are also being aware of climate change. That dialogue is also started in the rural areas, especially in the rural areas. People are more concerned about it, because they understand that it's time that everybody uses renewable energy, and so that the market is wide open. Even for the commercial players, peri-urban, rural, semi-rural, urban areas, there's going to be huge shift in next decade or so, for commercial businesses in solar. But for development sector, there is going to be a challenge with respect to again dealing with a set of customers for whom solar is still going to be a little expensive, and that is where CSR plays a very important role. So what the model that Selco has developed for CSR is that we largely do not do CSR as freebies. So if a project comes to us, we will always say that the CSR money will be used to unlock the financing, the local financing. So for example, if a project to solarize a PHC is say about 10 lakh, and I will never ask a CSR partner to give me all the 10 lakh. I always say, you please give me 5 lakhs. I'll ensure that I get the other 5 lakhs from the health department of the district, or
Mm.
from the National Health Mission of the district, because they have to be important stakeholders, because they are the people who are going to run that center. The doctors are going to run it, the health department is supposed to run it, all the complete district administration is supposed to run that health center. So instead of asking for 10 lakhs for one center, I'll say, give me those 10 lakhs, and instead of doing one center, I'll do two centers. And that is how we are building that whole model there. So what I'm going to say is that even for lighting and for livelihood, what we are saying is that, suppose a livelihood solution that we offer is costing say about 50,000 rupees. I am going to say the CSR that, don't give me 50,000 rupees, you give me only 10,000. The other 40,000 will come as a loan, as a loan, or as a MFI, credit linkage, affordable credit linkage, so that finally the end user is going to use it, and so he or she has to be the owner of that system. And so 10,000, instead of putting 50,000 at one customer, I am going to take that 50,000 and do 5 times more. So I'm going to do more 5 or 10 systems with the same money. That is where CSR plays a very important role, and CSR has to be used to experiment, to innovate, and to look at models, so that there is scale as to what we are doing. And if we are failing, let us fail fast, and then go to the next step, and then succeed eventually. And so what I'm trying to say is that a lot of money can also be, a lot of enterprises can also build around the CSR, innovative money, incubation money that CSR are now ready to fund for.
Absolutely, absolutely. And since India is the only country that has, a CSR mandate, it's a very exciting time, because the rest of the world is looking to us in a lot of ways, to use CSR for the development of the country and to fail forward and fail fast, as you mentioned. So, on that note, I am going to conclude today's conversation. I wish we could speak for longer because I've been very, very engaged as a young impact professional myself. So, thank you, Amogh, for being with us and for so passionately talking about social entrepreneurship and how how your experience at Selco has been. It's been very interesting for me to learn about Selco's history and the great work y'all are doing with regards to that healthcare project, which you mentioned across 10 different districts. Thank you, Amogh, and have a great day.
Thank you.